In May of 1947, a young couple eloped, and just 8 days later, the groom was found dazed and confused with a head wound in a burning cottage, and the new bride was found later that evening 150 feet away from the cottage on the riverbanks in 9 inches of water, deceased from what an autopsy would declare was a drowning. Christina, 22, and Jack, 26, were on their honeymoon, but they weren't alone. Jack's best friend accompanied the couple on their honeymoon to everyone's surprise. And he was the one to rescue Jack and 3 letters from the burning cottage before it burned to the ground. What follows is an inquest into Christina's death that becomes a spectacle of onlookers, some even stopping and asking for Jack and Ronald's autographs. Despite the case being widely publicized and an inquest into Christina's death, we still don't really know what happened to Christina that day, and those that know the truth are no longer with us. We're back with another archive dive, a mystery from history. There's so many layers of mystery and intrigue in this case, and the first one starts with Jack and Christina eloping May 12, 1947, which happened after Christina had mysteriously disappeared without warning from her family home 2 weeks prior. Christina McCann lived in Ontario and worked at a bank where she was described as a capable employee. Christina's father was a Polish immigrant who initially opposed her marriage to John Kettlewell, better known as Jack, because he was not Roman Catholic. However, Jack did convert, and for whatever reason, the couple decided to elope, which did upset Christina's family, who did not just have a problem with their conflicting religions, but Jack's best friend, Ronald Barry, who seemed deeply ingrained in their relationship. Ronald, who was often referred to as Barry, was what some have traditionally referred to as the third wheel. But it seemed that he was much more than a third wheel in this relationship. Not only was Ronald Jack's best friend, but his roommate. Ronald, 28, came to Canada from northern Italy and tried to establish himself in the construction and insurance business, but had very little success. He was a professional ballroom dancer, and he owned a cottage in Severn Falls, the very cottage that would later burn to the ground. Christina's family noted from the very beginning of Jack and Christina's relationship that Ronald spent an extremely weird amount of time with the couple. They were a constant trio. Helen, Christina's sister at the time, said that when they discovered that her sister had eloped with Jack and that Ronald was going to accompany them on the honeymoon, it made them wonder if maybe Ronald was possibly in love with Christina as well. At the time, the family says they really couldn't fathom any other reason that he would join them on their honeymoon. There was also evidence that suggested that Christina had conversations with Ronald throughout their relationship, questioning whether Jack really loved her. The first few days after Christina and Jack's wedding, they spent a few days in an apartment with Ronald in Toronto before heading out to the Severn Falls cottage May 17, 1947. It would later be reported that once at the cottage, Christina began to act out of character. It was said that she was having crying fits and at other times seemed dazed and completely out of it. On May 20th, Christina